On show 462, Jaguar needs more batteries, good news for US Polestar buyers, and an update to the Toyota Prius. Those stories and many more coming up on today's EV News Daily. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. I don't know where you're listening around the world, but I can see from my download stats whereabouts most people listen. I would say about half this podcast is the US, and then about a third of it the UK, and then the rest of it split around the rest of the world. So, but wherever you are, thank you for listening, and whatever time of day it is, whatever you're doing, whether you're driving or walking the dog or going to the gym right now, thank you for catching up with some EV news for Saturday, the 4th of May today. Yes, there was a Friday edition missing yesterday. It's because I'm on my travels at the moment. So, yesterday was it's the start of a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so we've got Monday off. Yes, I know we just had one. We have another one, and I'm on a bit of a road trip to see family because I've not been back to see my dad since he bought himself a BMW i3, and so I'm back to obviously see family. There just happens to be a very lovely car that I'll probably spend a fair amount of time having a good old sniff around. As I've driven an i3 before, but I've never spent a good amount of time with one. So I'm going to have a good old squiz around the the menus and all that kind of stuff just to have a little play. So that's what I'm doing. So apologies for no podcast yesterday. Was on the road for much of the day, and today this podcast comes to you from a hotel room, which is all very lovely. But there's the last few minutes of a karaoke party going on in the function room beneath. So I don't know if you you're picking it up on the podcast or not. It's pretty faint, but then again, the microphone does pick some stuff up sometimes, so if you can hear, the occasional bit of wailing, that's exactly what's going on. Thank you very much to myev.com for helping make this show. They've built the world's first marketplace all about buying and selling EVs in the US, and if you want to really understand the kind of cars on the market, the price you're going to pay or buy or sell your EVs for, check it out, myev.com. Let's start with Jaguar Land Rover, and the head of Jaguar Land Rover says that the uptake of their I-Pace, the very first car that has got a ton of attention and won a lot of awards, World Car of the Year award recently, it would be selling more of them if there were more batteries. According to Zach at InsideEVs.com, the Jaguar Land Rover CEO, Dr. Ralph Speth, told Automotive News Europe the I-Pace is in fact in demand all around the world. He points to Germany. Especially, he says in Germany that demand is outpacing supply, and I quote, "When it comes to electric vehicles, the question isn't how many cars I can build, but rather how many batteries I can buy," end quote, said the CEO of Jaguar Land Rover. Battery supply is hardly a problem, says Inside EVs, for automakers, hardly a new problem rather for automakers in the EV game. Even Tesla, all those years ago with its Gigafactory, when they first built that, people thought they were mad to focus on batteries. As it turns out, it was a pretty good bet to make, and even then they could do with more from Panasonic, and I think that's probably what is ending up with the conversations that are being held between Tesla and others, that they've been in bed really. They've been kissing cousins with Panasonic, but they need more. They just need more cells, and certainly for the Chinese Gigafactory, Giga 3, which is going up at a rate of knots, they may well be using more local supply. Jaguar Land Rover there saying that they would sell more of their cars if they could. Those high-margin EVs, the ones like the I-Pace, the Audi e-tron, the Mercedes EQC, are all lovely cars, but they're not going to be sold in huge numbers. Thank you very much to EV Nick. Now, EV Nick has a YouTube channel here in the UK. Recently been on his adventures as well, doing an EV rally. I want to catch up with him soon on this podcast and have a chat about that. He sent me this next link from Reddit. New camouflaged pictures of the VW ID have been seen on a Dutch YouTube channel, and it seems to confirm the name as well for the very first time. So I'm wondering whether the VW press office or a marketing person or the marketing team uploaded this to their YouTube channel. Of course, if you know about YouTube, what you can do is you can upload videos to YouTube but mark them as private, or even put a future publishing date on. Now, we know that around the 8th of May, in just a few days' time, is when you can order your brand new VW ID electric car. So I'm imagining there's all sorts of things going on at the moment in kind of marketing these cars, in terms of getting a social media plan ready and all of those kind of things, that things are being uploaded, and this one seems to have slipped out. It's a video on YouTube which shows camouflage pictures of the VW ID3. That's what it's called in the YouTube title. It doesn't necessarily mean the car's called the ID3, but the YouTube title, and, you know, I don't speak Dutch, but I can certainly look at the YouTube title of this video they've uploaded and spot that it says ID3. Now, this could mean that it's the third version of the video that they've uploaded. This could be a different code they're using internally, or it could mean that the car that's being touted around as being called the VW ID NIO or the VW ID 1, which is a rearrangement of those letters, N-E-O-O-N-E, or it could be the ID 3. It's the number 3 in the YouTube channel, which says, it's one of those things that I don't want to draw too much into, because I could just spend loads of time speculating and they'd be massively wrong. But it's very exciting. We're a few days away now from that car being unveiled, and also being able to order it as well. I'm really impressed with the car that's not a Golf. Don't call it a Golf. Whatever you do, it's not a Golf. I mean, look, it's the same size as the Golf, and it's probably the same market as a Golf. The dimensions, the inside, like a Golf. Don't call it a Golf. It's definitely not a Golf. I'll pop a link to the YouTube video in the show notes as well. 30-second YouTube video of the car, which, yes, it is still wearing its camouflage colours, but it's the best view we get. It says, feel instant e-power. And this is all in English, by the way. Feel instant e-power, feel the dynamic e-driving, and then on screen it says, now you can, in massive white letters over kind of people doing skateboarding and bike tricks, and this car speeding through some streets, and then it says ID3 on the screen. So I'll pop a link so you can see more, so that you can get an idea of the kind of rumours going around. In Norway, plug-in sales were down in April, and all sorts of people have been speculating for the last couple of days on Norway's April numbers and whether Norway's reached peak EV. But now we know why. Plug-in electric car sales in Norway went down in April, but there is a reason. There always is if you dig into the data. It's because hybrids dropped. All electrics are doing very well. 720 Tesla Model 3s were sold in April. 5,596 new passenger plug-ins were registered last month in Norway. That is down. It's still a market share of 50%, which is less than the record previous month in March, but that is hybrids that are going down, pure BEVs, by the way, and imported cars as well. So it's always are on the way down. It's always worth to digging into the data a little bit more before you panic and say Norway's hit peak EV. It won't hit peak EV till it's at 100%. That'll be the same as everywhere around the world. Hey, good news, by the way, if you're looking forward to buying a Polestar. Let me remind you, Polestar is the spin-off of Volvo, but it's the performance bit of Volvo spun off, and they, of course, are making their first EVs, the Polestar 1, the Polestar 2. You can see where they're going with this naming convention. It does qualify, by the way, it qualifies for its own federal tax credit in the US because they are a separate car maker. Polestar is being recognized not as part of Volvo, even though they are the parent company, but as their own EV maker in their own right. So both companies, Volvo and Polestar, get 200,000 EVs in the bag until the credit tapers down. 200,000 cars is plenty for that for those two companies to sell, by the way. Of course, Polestar 50% owned by Geely and 50% Volvo as well. The Polestar 1's a lovely car, but super exclusive. Polestar 2 is going to be the Model 3 competitor. And if you are not aware, by the way, in the US, the incentives there, the federal tax credit, is you pay the full price of the car. You pay the full price when the car goes on the market, and then is it a year later? I need to make sure I get this fully correct, but the next year's tax bill is then reduced. So it's tax that you just don't pay at a future point in time. It's not like it's free money off the car when you buy it. It is tax deferred, or it's a saving deferred, if you like. Here in the UK, we get £3,500, but it is taken off the list price of the car. So there is a Toyota which you can plug in on sale. And I'm very confused by this because Toyota are constantly running ads in the UK saying we choose not to plug in. We sell hybrids that are self-charging without a plug. But they do sell one, and it's a really lovely car. It's called the Toyota Prius Prime. They're adding a fifth seat and Apple CarPlay as well. The price increases slightly, a bit of new tech, new USB ports going into that. The fifth seat, new black interior, sun visor extender as well. This is a little mini iterative update for the 2020 model. A modest update is how Autoblog Green describes it. Toyota switched up the naming architecture of the trim levels as well, aligning it with things like the Corolla and the Camry. 54 mpg combined fuel, 25 miles of electric-only range on the 2020 Toyota Prius Prime. We do like your Toyota for building cars with plug sockets on, and we're also very confused why you run these adverts saying we choose not to plug in when you sell a plug-in car. It's because they're so big in hybrids, of course. They've got to make more money out of hybrids before the world moves to EVs. We know that's coming. Not even a question mark after that sentence anymore. We know it's coming. So I mentioned the VW ID already, and now I'm going to mention the E word, the Golf. But this is the E-Golf. Just don't call the ID a Golf. It's not a Golf. It's the ID. The e-Golf, though, is going to be dead after 2019, says Inside EVs. There won't be a replacement for the e-Golf in North America in the short term, amid news of the Golf line being pared down in the US when the 8th generation arrives. One thing is for certain, there won't be a next-gen e-Golf. Why would you when you're releasing the VW ID? Which is definitely nothing like the Golf. While still arriving from the Wolfsburg to US dealers, VW of America spokesman told Inside EVs yesterday there won't be any cars badged as 2020 models for the e-Golf, and the brand would be without an EV until the ID CROSBY goes on sale as the 2021 model. Yes, worth saying, by the way, that the ID goes on sale here in Europe, but somewhat of a delay before it goes on sale in the US and Canada as well. I'm surprised about that, but we'll see that rollout plan as we go. But the e-Golf, which is a very accomplished, by the way, conversion of a fossil car, they've just bunged some batteries, under the seats. They've found room for the batteries. Nice in its latest iteration, by the way. The early e-Golfs weren't much to write home about, but the most recent ones, nice cars, by the way. If you like driving a Golf, you'll like driving the e-Golf. It's an entirely familiar experience. Here's a company that's going to have to change their tune in the future. Maserati. Maserati's lineup will never be all electric, said their US boss. FCA's Italian, SCA is Fiat Chrysler Automotive, by the way. Their Italian luxury brand struggled in the first quarter of 2019, but they're getting some additional help from FCA. The CEO, Mike Manley, told investors on a call to report the first quarter earnings. They're going to put a bit more weight behind Maserati. Down 41%. Net revenues down as well. Shipments were down 41% is what I'm talking about on sales. Their Q1 wasn't anything to write home about. So surely you think they'd be embracing the future and saying, we're going to get momentum back into the Maserati brand with some electrification. However, no, the US boss saying that the brand, and I quote, "This is a brand that needs combustion engines. It needs raw emotion." Oh, I don't even know where to begin with that sentence. Al Gardner is the head of Maserati North America. Look, you don't get to become the head of at least a continent of an automaker without having your head screwed on. So this guy's definitely not a numpty. However, how can you say a sentence like that? This is a brand that needs combustion engines. Al, my man, my buddy Al. All cars are going electric. All hypercars, all minis, all city cars, all off-roaders, all trucks. They're all going electric. How can you say that it needs that raw emotion? Well, we'll see if Maserati's still around in a few years' time, or what Mr. Al Gardner will be doing with his time when Maserati is no longer a brand. If they resist electrification, I worry. But good luck. They make amazing cars. Look, I think it's fair to say he's saying that now because they want to flog a few cars, but in time. Of course they're going to have batteries inside. Hey, finishing off with China's NIO. They're laying off their San Francisco-based staff. I saw come through late last night in an Inside EVs article. They continued their model expansion last month, but now they're laying off a number of employees in California and closing an office in California, according to a state agency. Reported to The Verge, NIO laid off 20 employees from their North American headquarters in San Jose, California, and all 50 from their San Francisco Technology Center. All research and development work from North America is now going to be conducted at their San Jose headquarters, 50 miles to the south. NIO, by the way, was a startup back in 2014. They've been ramping up sales of the ES8. That's a Chinese car, the ES8. And at the 2019 Auto Shanghai Show, or Shanghai Auto Show, whatever it was called, they certainly had some big global plans as well. But I think it's fair to say that pretty much all Chinese car makers have some big plans. We just always need to make sure that we're talking about the ones that are actually making cars. And NIO, I think, fit into that box. They're definitely making some cars at the moment and trying to build towards a future. That is your Saturday news today. Loads going on once again in the world of EVs. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for joining in with our question of the week. And if you haven't yet, I'd love to hear from you, and you can answer this week's question of the week, which is all about servicing. Thanks to myev.com for setting this question of the week. Is there a future? Is there a future for independent servicing in a world of EVs? What do you reckon? Or is it just going to be a case of sending the computer back to the people that made it and hoping they can fix it? Please email me and I'll read out your answer tomorrow. My email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com, or you can leave a comment on YouTube and Facebook. Well, thank you very much to every patron of this podcast. Your generosity does keep me going. Obviously, the financial side of it is enormously welcome, because this became a very expensive hobby until you helped me pay for this. And you do indeed. Patreon does indeed pay for all of the costs associated with this podcast. The moral support as well of having you there on Patreon is just incredible. Gives me so much energy. Thank you so much to every Patreon supporter. The show's complete archive, 461 shows, are online for you to download. The new ones as well. You get them first and free and automatically every single day. And you can get it in your inbox. You can get it in as a little reminder. You can get it as a notification on YouTube. If you hit the little bell icon, hit subscribe on your particular podcast app of choice. I should be on all of them as well. In the meantime, come and say hi on the socials by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.